I like big sissy bar, apes and a crustier bike. I pretty much just built that Peach bike just to show that I could build a nice showy bike with a weird frame. I just wanted to experiment with that bike, and it just kind of came out how it came out. It definitely would have gone a lot smoother with the Peach bike, having known any of this stuff. My name is Dayten Likness. I'm 34 years old, and I'm originally from Canada, but I'm living in California now. I look at neck castings and they're like, I think, really beautiful. Details like that, I think that shit's cool. I wanted to braze that neck on. You'd think it would be a lot easier, but it's not. Originally, I wanted to try to cast my own neck, but they call them neck castings, but they're not actually castings, they're forged. The frame is a straight leg frame, except the neck is two 45 necks spliced into one. But at least it's like not wax, it's like a plate deal, so then like we can repack it. We're not gonna lose anything if it doesn't work. People ask me now like all types of questions about sandcasting. I watched the YouTube video and literally just figured out that when you're trying to cast something that has a big cavity, the hardest part about the process is separating the sand without it breaking. And once you separate the sand, you still have to take the piece out of the sand and then put the two molds back together. That's the hardest part. Melting down material, pouring it, that's the easy part. Actually, the whole oil bag, all the material, the sheet aluminum and the angle, I found on a job site. It was just a table. So pretty much the whole table was melted down into that. At first, I was trying to do it in two pieces, which we sat here for an entire day, probably 9 attempts. Each attempt took like an hour, and it broke pretty much every time. So at the end of the day, being super frustrated, having to cut up the prototype and having to cast it in 3 pieces pretty much, it's a fucking process. I'm gonna put this down. I'm gonna flip it. The process of this bike, I just learned how to use a lathe and a mill and learning to weld cast aluminum. That was all on this build. I never wanted to have a motorcycle shop. I just like to do it for fun, but I felt if I'm gonna build the bike for Born Free, then I might as well do something like challenging for myself. So make a weird frame, make some weird parts. I put like a casting stamp on the inside of that oil bag that I don't think anybody will ever see unless the bike gets in an accident and somebody sees the tank at a swap meet 50 years from now. But things that you put on a bike, as long as you know and think it's cool, who cares if other people see it, you know? The oil bag looks like a early pan, late nut cam cover, but it's still the same shape as a classic horseshoe oil bag. Then I had to learn how to weld cast aluminum, which is like a whole process in its own. And then I just used sheet metal for the bottom and the back. I think I always try to like make everything function, like how the tube on the side of the cam cover, I never really knew what that was for. It always interested me because it looked cool how it kind of went through the fins, but it actually just happened to be in the same spot as where the feed line comes out, so why not put the feed line out of that? I made the top resemble like a 1937 knucklehead bag, but I'm making a Cobra seat. You'll never even be able to see that. The primary cover is the exact same inside shape of a classic tin one. It's just I cut off the starter tab on the top, and I took an original tin primary cover. I cut the flange off all around it, and then I had to build up 3/16 of an inch of clay on the entire thing. I made it fully functional, so the foot clutch is inside the front of it. There's no cover over the clutch because you don't need that. I needed to figure out the stance, so I'm still waiting on my rear wheel. Put it on a crate, rolled the back tire up, and then pretty much what you do is keep jacking it up and down. It's a 66 shovel head motor and trans, and I wanted to build like not your classic show chopper, but more of like an early 70s NorCal. People would say like tough bike, but more like biker bike. Or not like biker bike, right? I don't know anything else to say.